What is up, everybody? Welcome to PCP Movie Night here on Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm the host tonight, Rockin, Robbie Billups, and tonight we're talking about one of the most undersung, underappreciated, undervalued John Carpenter films of all time. Tonight we're talking about Starman. There's my nice Scream Factory edition. All the John Carpenter films that Shout Factory gets a hold of, they put under the Scream Factory brand. This is not a horror film, but this is a really interesting film that I'm very excited to talk about with an exciting panel tonight. And if you're not down with PCPX, I got two words for you. John Carpenter. That's all you need, right? Like John Carpenter did it. You know, every once in a while, he gives us Ghosts of Mars or The Ward, but most often than not, he gives us Big Trouble in Little China, Halloween, Escape from New York, They Live, and Starman. I think Starman needs to be up in the upper echelon of Carpenter flicks. Speaking of upper echelon, Fable is here. What is up, my man from One Collection Down? How you doing, bro?
Station, what's going on? Happy to be back on PCP Movie Night, man. Doing a Carpenter classic. Let's go.
Hell yeah. Is this your first show of 2025 for PCP
First
Movie
show.
Night?
First show. Happy New Year.
What a great way to do it. Speaking of fresh starts, it's always a fresh start with Brooks. What is up, my man? First time watch for you, right?
Yeah. Never. Well, I'd heard of this movie. I remember it being referenced, but I never actually watched it. And so this was a fun opportunity.
Halfway through the movie, Brooks goes, I don't think this is based on the James Robinson DC comic.
Yeah. Wasn't it at all what I was expecting.
Speaking of DC Comics, the only person I know who's actually worked for DC Comics is Joe Corallo. What is up, my man?
It's true. Hello, I am here to talk about Starman with all of you. That's what's up.
Well, we're happy to have you here, bro. You know,
I think Joe's been replaced by Starman.
I'm surprised nobody came in and did the walk and like tried to say something in the, you know, the syncopation of like how Jeff Bridges would have delivered the line in this movie or whatever.
But I think I'd fuck it up.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. By the way, Jeff Bridges nominated for an Academy Award for this film.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Pretty freaking cool, actually. All right. We see you out there in the chat. Join along in the conversation. But we're talking about Starman from 1984, directed by John Carpenter. This was a movie that he did right after Christine, right? So John Carpenter was like the toast of the town in Hollywood back in the late 70s, early 80s. He did Halloween, which was one of the most successful independently produced films of the time when that came out. He did the Elvis 3-hour TV movie with Kurt Russell, which I think is really good. It's kind of like, it's like the passion of the Elvis, right? Think about like Jesus movies made about Elvis. And that's what it feels like to me, right? Like seriously, you get like, it's almost like they should have just went ahead and said his mom was a virgin or some shit in that movie. That movie is a very mythologized version of the Elvis story, right? But it's good, right? And then he did The Fog, Escape from New York, The Thing, which is one of the greatest films of all time, but at the time didn't do so well, right? So then he does Christine. Christine is a moderate success. It's actually a success. And then he gets one of his biggest studio gigs ever to do Starman, right? I think Columbia Pictures did this one. Yeah, Columbia Pictures, a $24 million budget, which for 1984 is pretty hefty, especially for him. Unfortunately, it only made $28.7 million domestically. It was not a success, but critically, it kind of was. And John Carpenter, we say that name, and most people immediately think horror movie director. He's one of the masters of horror. He truly, truly is. But like other members of that masters of horror community, he wanted to like do other things, and he wasn't always given that opportunity. And when he was given the opportunity to do a sci-fi romantic comedy road movie, he jumped at it and he went with it, right? Now, Fable, a little bit before we started going live, we were talking about how, like, you mentioned this one is not edited, produced, written, and scored by John Carpenter. It feels a little bit different because of that. And maybe it does, but to me, it still feels very John Carpenter. I love that this is an opportunity where he gets to show that it's not just that he's a master of horror. He is a master of film. He knows how to frame something. He knows how to like move the camera. He knows how to tell a story. John Carpenter is a storyteller. I fucking love this. I did not grow up with it. It wasn't something I remember watching when I was younger. I think maybe I've seen it here and there. I always knew of this movie. Maybe it was one of those things I saw on like a Fox movie, Saturday afternoon movie or something, like here and there. But like for the most part, like this was gone. Like when I think of the lexicon of John Carpenter, the filmography, Starman was not something that popped in my head, right? But a few years ago, I made this decision to buy every single John Carpenter film. I wanted every single movie physically, right? I'm working on Wes Craven and Dario Argento right now. I'm almost done with Dario Argento. In fact, my Giallo Adrian Brody DVD is on the way right now as we speak. So that's cool. I'm continuously working on these things. But I own every John Carpenter movie. And for a while, I was going through them on Rockin' Robbie Live one by one. And when I got to Starman, man, honestly, I don't even know if I've ever seen that movie all the way through before that time. I was blown away. I was like, here's a John Carpenter movie with Jeff Bridges and Karen Allen. And I'm going to try really hard not to say Nancy Allen tonight, but it's Karen Allen. And I was like, why is this not one that's discussed up there with The Thing and Halloween and They Live and Big Trouble and Escape? I think this is one of his top movies. I don't think it's his best movie. I don't think it's in his top 3, but I really appreciate that John Carpenter is still John Carpenter while making this movie, right? And it's a travesty that nobody ever got John Carpenter to do a Western. I really think he could have like nailed that. I love this movie. On my rewatch this week, I wasn't as enamored with it as I was the truly first time that I had seen it, because it does feel like a bit repetitive in parts with some of like what it's going over, whether it's about theme or narrative, right? But man, I think it's a tight movie. I think it's shot well. I think it's performed well. I love the story. Is it a bit E.T.? Yeah. But this movie was actually this meandered in pre-production for years because it was too similar to E.T. And I think Columbia was the one, like, no, it wasn't Columbia. It was somebody. Who did E.T.? Was that Universal? Does anybody remember? Whatever. Whoever did E.T., they had the rights to this movie too. And then they were like, you know what? These movies are a bit too similar. So maybe we should like do one and not the other. And they made the right move, obviously. They did E.T. And then Starman wound up at Columbia. John Carpenter got attached after other directors like Tony Scott were attached briefly. And I love the movie. I think it's really good. I watched it with my girlfriend on Thursday night, and she had never seen, I don't think she's ever seen a John Carpenter film. She's not really into horror or anything like that, right? But man, she loved this movie. And I knew she would, because this is a movie that speaks about humanity and our world and where we're flawed, but where we excel. So there's a lot to unpack about this movie tonight. You out there in the chat, join along. Fable, what's your history? What do you think overall about Starman?
I did grow up with this movie. I'm probably like one of the only ones on the panel, I think, that grew up with it. I saw it back in the 80s, mid 80s. I have a big nostalgia for this movie. It fueled my passion and love for science fiction. It gave me those same feels and vibes like Star Trek, the motion picture, E.T., Close Encounters of the Third Kind. These are all movies that to like a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, it really is mind-blowing, the concept of a star, literally a star man. Like he's like a light that comes to the planet and turns into a man and lives life. So this got my imagination moving and everything like that. So I have a lot of love and nostalgia for this movie. At the time, even though not on this watch, but at the time, the special effects were mind blowing to me as a kid. I mean, seeing him grow up, when that scene happens where he's a little baby and then he just turns into a man, I thought was mind blowing at the time. Of course, it's a little dated now. But I gotta agree with you on this watch. I think the reason why it's not as powerful as it was is because it's sort of become a trope in a lot of ways, right? A lot of its themes, a lot of its messages have been done over and over and over again. So when you go back to this, it's like, you know what I mean? I've seen this thing before, and E.T. is a better version of this movie, but I still love this movie. And one thing, in this watch, I would say,
well, the kid in E.T. doesn't fuck the alien.
Well, true,
at least.
Elliot, I left you a baby.
Yeah.
Do you want it?
Well, we don't know if that could have been in one of the drafts for E.T. We don't know.
It might have been when it was originally developed as Night Skies, right? It was supposed to be a horror
listen,
film.
if you want to fuck E.T., I don't know what to tell you, bro.
I mean, something
fetish.
fucked up Drew Barrymore on that film, so.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But it's gorgeous though. This movie is gorgeous. It's beautifully shot. Almost every scene is framed. I mean, that wide angle camera they use is fantastic, and it's super sharp. Even
and what's
today,
crazy, Dean Cundy was not the DP in this movie, right? Dean Cundy has been working with Jonathan Carpenter his entire career up to this point. They had a falling out apparently that they.
Well, this is where I think
2 years later with Big Trouble, but like.
This is where I think John Carpenter might have stepped in, right? Like I think maybe he's uncredited. Maybe he telling whoever's the DP, this is how I want things, and this is the colors I want, and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's still a nostalgic movie for me, and it's still a good little love story, right? It's a good little family movie in a lot of ways. It is PG. Somebody said it's a PG. Lackluster PG movie, but I don't know. I like its innocence. It still speaks to me. So yeah, no, I love Starman.
I like the word you used, innocence. There is an innocence quality, like an innocent quality to this film that I really think stands through. So the cinematographer was in fact Donald M. Morgan, who worked with John Carpenter on Elvis and Christine right before this.
There you go. And Christine is gorgeous.
Yeah, Christine's gorgeous too, but Donald doesn't really have a storied career. John Carpenter does. It just makes you wonder, what is the collaboration? I think, is it Dean Cundy who's amazing? Is it John Carpenter who's amazing? Or is it both of them kind of together? Is it like a Jack and Stan kind of situation where
I think
they're stronger together at a certain time?
Yeah. I think he leads all of his movies in that area. Photography, I think he's definitely the guy pushing the lens, even though he's got another guy there. I mean, They Live. We can go on and on. All his movies are beautifully shot.
Yeah, they are. We mentioned that a lot of times that John Carpenter's kind of like a working class filmmaker, right? He's not quite George A. Romero level of working class. I think he's more like middle class, right? But he's a workman. He's putting in that work. He's doing it, man. There's a way he tells the story that's so lean, so efficient. I think that's prevalent here in Starman. Speaking of efficient and prevalent, Brooks, first time watch. What did you think about Starman?
I liked it. It was all I really knew about it was a movie about an alien. So I didn't have any expectations for it, but I really did enjoy it. It's a fun movie, but not in kind of a serious way, I guess. Because it does feel in a lot of ways it does kind of mirror E.T., but with two grown-ups instead of a kid. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and young dude looks pretty good in this movie, man. I gotta say.
You talking about Jeff Bridges?
Yeah.
We just did Big Lebowski last week, so you're whoa. This dude was kind of hot.
like if I'd made this movie, I would have had a scene at the end where like Starman comes back to Earth and he walks into a bowling alley and he sees a young John Goodman, and then it fades to black after that. It'll be like the alternate ending.
Big Lebowski's the sequel to Starman. He gets too used to humanity. Speaking of too used to humanity, Joe, what do you think about Starman?
It's all right. It's like, I mean, talking about it not necessarily like being like underrated. Is it the only Carpenter film to get an Academy Award nomination?
I believe so, yeah.
And it was like praised by critics. Like Siskel and Ebert fought over who liked it more. Like it's, I
we
feel
mean
like it's
underrated
hard
in
to-
2025, not 1985, bruh. You know what I'm saying?
but no, but I'll also fight you on that, because I'm sure you also went on YouTube and looked up every review you could. All but one review I saw that had like over 10K views was all talking about how great the movie is. You scroll through the comments, all the comments are about how great it is. Like,
and they always start each video off with being like, I think this is one of the most underappreciated John Carpenter films of all time.
yeah, and it's
Fuck.
like, I don't know.
We're
I
just
think
like those
I think
assholes right now, man. Shit, except for you, Joe.
I think it's properly appreciated, you know, like it does have a lot of love, like, to this day. I think the love story in it and the build up and all of that really works. I think the government military stuff kind of sucks. It's not really like, it's a lot of spinning its wheels and you keep cutting back to these scenes. Thankfully, not that often. Thankfully, they lean really heavy on the love story in the two of them, and they kind of underuse the military angle and all. It's like they either need to do a lot more of that and develop it, or like completely cut it out and make it this like faceless sort of threat. I think that
the
might have
military's supposed to be
actually
like
been
a Sauron type villain that's just in the background.
Yeah, but like every
And one of the
scene where it
original
cut to
script-
them, like
One of the original
Yeah.
scripts led to the point where Starman blasted the government away at the end with a big laser or something. John Carpenter's like, look,
Oh my god, hell no.
this movie's really about the love story. Let's focus on that. And like, that's what he jumped at, right? Like, I want to make a romantic comedy, a road movie. That's crazy
Yeah.
because like he told ILM, did the special effects, and he told them, let's not make the special effects be that big of a deal. You know what I'm saying? You're telling ILM that, like, we're going to tone this down just a little bit because I think the movie does focus on what it needs to, but I understand what you're saying, Joe. Please continue.
Yeah, I almost wish it just like was like a faceless sort of entity. I think it would have actually been more frightening if it was like you and the audience like really don't know the government's motivations and there's not really a face to it, because there's so little of it anyway. And even though it's not a lot of the movie, it drags the movie every time. They're just like fighting and talking over bullshit, and you're just like, what are we even doing? Like, it's like, all right, it's 20 minutes later and they're like, we've got to stop the alien. I like Alien though. And we go back and you're like, okay, cool. What a brilliant scene. That was the same exact fucking thing they did the last time we cut to them, except someone gave them slightly more information this time, and they're like, oh, we know that they're going to this place, like you, the audience that just fucking watched them do it. Thanks for reminding me. Like that
It
stuff
does
I
have
think was
that.
handled
I agree with that. It does.
poorly,
I felt
but
that way too.
but like the other side, again, like the love story is what works. That's what really pushes a story. Thankfully, it's the vast majority of the movie. And they shot in so many locations across the country, and it shows. Like, it really feels like they use their budget for the location shots. You really feel like the wide open spaces, like that stuff is so big and helps really sell the movie. You know, there's other things that piss me off about the movie. Like, there's a few way too convenient moments where, like, oh, we escaped just in time to get on this pickup truck and get out of there before, like that kind of stuff where it's like, fuck you, movie. Like, come on.
Yeah,
like,
but he brought the deer back to life, bruh. He brought the deer back to life.
That stuff is great, and I'll get into that later. But like that sucked, and I'm trying to think. There were the stuff like with the different with the 7 balls, like the Dragon Balls, whatever he's got. It's just like, again, those are like, they're fine, but there is this kind of like, without it being defined. And I also know that's a double-edged sword, because do you really want it to be defined? But at the same time, it's like, bitch, why don't you just ask it to like get you back on your ship? Or like that it didn't happen, because it can do like, it can do all of these incredible things, except the only things it needs to do to keep the movie from going for, like that kind of stuff kind of is like, oh, cool. You have your magical MacGuffins that can do literally anything except the only things you need it to do. Like,
it can bring
like,
main characters back from the dead, but it can't get us to Arizona within 3 days.
Yeah, it's like,
that's the adult in you. Like the kid, like that shit was like mysterious. I love that he had those things. Like, what the hell is that?
Well, what's crazy is we all know that there was a 1 season long television show that came out on ABC in the late 80s on this movie. That was a continuation of the movie. Basically, the Starman comes back. He takes the form of another person, and he's like going on a journey with his son to find their mother who's missing, right?
Yeah.
Karen Allen's character is missing and all this kind of shit. And it's the dude from fucking Airplane who played Starman in it, right? And in that show, he's got 1 ball that he can use multiple times. It does whatever. So I guess their technology had improved when he went back to the planet. Any other thoughts, Joe, before we move on?
No, I love that. I would have just said, like, he took the form of an actor who's in less demand.
And he was not nominated for an Emmy.
I've returned to Earth with an actor whose schedule was more aligned to
that's one of the Wonder Twins' powers, right? I take the form of a less popular actor right now. All right. Speaking of the actors, let's talk about the performances. Some great performances in this movie. One of them, Academy Award nominated, but not the one that I think should have been Academy Award nominated. I'm pulling the card for the first time in 2025. I'm going first because I don't want anybody to take Janet from Me by Karen Allen. She is the heart and soul of this movie. Her journey. This is the best performance I've seen from her. You see her in Sandlot, obviously Raiders of the Lost Ark. What's the other one that she's in? I always forget about Scrooged. She's in Scrooged, right? She's great in those movies. She's fantastic. But her honesty, her authenticity that comes through mostly her eyes. And that's something that John Carpenter has said in many interviews and shit, is that's what got him to cast her, was that she was beautiful in a not obvious way. And there was something about the way that she is able to emote and with very little dialogue. Yeah, they tell us, oh yeah, my husband died in an accident. But you get all of that before, right? You understand her journey just through her first like 5 minutes on screen. You understand who she is, what she's been through, and she carries this movie as an emotional anchor for me. So I love her performance. She's amazing. I'll throw it to you, Fable. What's another performance you want to highlight? You out there in the chat, let us know.
I love Karen Allen too, bro. Like, I really wish they would have picked her to be Lois Lane instead of Margot Kidder. That's always been like my fan casting. Shit. Okay. I'll save Jeff Bridges for somebody else, and I'll go with the FBI. No, the SETI. What's his name? The
dude from fucking what's the George Lucas film that's not Star Wars that everybody loves? American Graffiti. That one.
Yeah, that guy.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Exactly. No, I liked him in this movie. You could tell that he's generally excited, excited for the find, right? Like this is what he's been wanting his whole entire life to be a part of, and then slowly realizing that the people he works for or works with aren't on the same page as him. You know what they want to do, and it drives him to try to help Starman and Karen get out of this situation. So I like that dude. Wasn't he in Nerds too, or no? Am I crazy? Wasn't in Nerds?
I don't know if he was in Revenge of the Nerds, but it seems like he should have been.
Yeah,
I love that bit too, where he's like trying to smoke the cigar, but the general or whatever the fuck he is like,
man.
oh no. And then at the end, he's like, you know, not to. What does he say? He says something like, not to like lean too much on metaphor, but it's just like, I don't know. I really like that bit. But Joe's kind of right. Like he just shows up to kind of like be like, yo, in case you forgot, this is what happened. We know a little bit now. We're inching closer to them. But that moment between him and Starman and Janet in the diner right before everything goes on, my favorite line in the fucking movie, Jeff Bridges says, because he asks him, what do you think about humanity? What do you think about Earth, right? He says, you are at your very best when things are at their worst. That to me is the heart of this fucking movie, aside from Karen Allen's eyes and at times those thighs. So speaking of eyes and thighs, Brooks, what is up, my man? Nobody knows how ripped your thighs are or how amazing your eyes are because you got that nice glare on your glasses. What about a performance you want to highlight, my man? Oh, look at you. Dreamy ass Brooks, what's the performance you want to highlight?
Well, this movie, like most of it, of course, revolves around Jeff Bridges and what's Karen
Allen, not Nancy,
so,
Karen.
Yeah, but yeah, so most of the movie, but that like they do run into a lot of people too along the way, and I think my favorite guy that they ran into on this trip was the truck driver when when they split up for a little bit, and he hitches a ride with this truck driver guy, and the guy like hands him a cigarette.
You talking about the drunk guy from Back to the Future?
Yeah.
Who's in every John Carpenter movie as the drunk guy?
It's like because it's like he runs into all these different kinds of people, and like they're all very authentic. Like like the waitress at the bar that helps her out, and like it's like he's experiencing like the different kinds of people there are, and like at their best and their worst. And like I thought that was just fun, like of him, because that's one of the few scenes of him without her at his side. So he's just him and this guy, and like he's just trying to kind of act like a regular guy by basically doing the parrot thing. But I thought it was a funny scene. I think it's probably one of my favorite scenes because it's just so funny. Like watching this Jeff Bridges performance, of course, is like great. Like the way he does this alien, and like it evolves over the movie too. He doesn't ever get like completely regular, like regular dude sounding, but he kind of inches towards it throughout the movie. And this truck driver guy is like part of his evolution.
Hell yeah. I mean, Jeff Bridges delivers some really good lines. A moment that almost always breaks my heart, or like softens it, I should say, is at the end when he goes, "Tell me again how to say goodbye." Oh my God. But it's Karen's response that really cements it for me, when she's like, you tell me you love me and you kiss me. Right? Like, oh my God. That's like, I'm feeling so fucking like weak right now. Speaking of not weak, what's a performance you want to highlight, Joe?
Yeah, well, first, I also do have to say, I mean, this is probably the Karen Allen role. Like, I don't think she's ever been better. I've seen like all of the movies you have mentioned. Scrooged is up there. I think she's really great in Scrooge, but like, this is just one of the best.
Would you say it's better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull?
I mean, that I'd really have to think a little harder on, because right now I'm only thinking about it part-time, but it's
She plays well off of socially awkward people. Like
yeah, yeah,
Indy's a big fucking creep. She plays well off of him.
yep.
Come on, Scrooge, and now Starman
Oh
is
yeah.
like borderline. What the hell is this?
Oh yeah.
Was this
No,
woman going through the most traumatic experience of her life? Somebody has taken on the form of her dead husband and has kidnapped her. Like, right? She handles it way better than most other people, I think. So
No, she does. So like, have to mention that. Since no one mentioned Jeff Bridges, I'll also mention the whole bit of he like studied birds to like get like that movement and stuff down.
worked with a
Which I
dancer,
think was
worked with a dancing instructor, right? Too, yeah.
like really did interesting stuff. Like he earned that Academy Award nomination. Like
He
for
studied
sure,
high
for
birds for Big Lebowski, by the way. We didn't mention that last week, but he studied very, very high birds. Stoned birds.
But the one I'm gonna focus on, like briefly at least, is Ted White, famous Hollywood stuntman, who played the the deer hunter, not to be confused with the fantastic film Deer Hunter, but he
He's
does
Jason
such a
in
good
Final
job.
Chapter, man.
Yep, and he was like a stuntman for like John Wayne and Clark Gable, and like so he's tied to so many like big classic movies. In addition to doing some great work in his own right, he lived a nice long life. He only passed like a couple of years or 2 or 3 years ago, something like that. And
The ripe old age of 183.
he's
like a Bible character.
But he's fantastic. He really sells it. There's that whole bit, where he's like angry with Jeff Bridges, and then like they're in the restaurant, and then he's really nice to Karen Allen, like going out of his way to kind of be pleasant. And then when she sees, she looks out and sees, and then like he reverts right back to being a scumbag again. Like that second. His whole bit, like it just works so well. He plays it off perfectly. We've all met that guy. We've all interacted with that guy. Unfortunately, a lot of us have probably at some point or another been on the wrong side of a guy like that for whatever reason. And like the bit where he like, you think like, oh, he fucked up by hitting the bus, and then like he immediately like spins it around to being like, they hit my car, you gotta call I was trying to catch him, you gotta call. Like that was great. I know that's the script, it's not him, but like still, like he plays all of that off well. I think he's absolutely a highlight in terms of one of the sort of periphery characters.
Hell yeah, you're right about that. Let's talk about the style and structure. I think the style is fantastic. It looks amazing. We're doing the scope, cinema scope. We're doing the 235:1. We're doing that ratio. John Carpenter knows how to fill that frame. And he's using the beauty of America. That's part of the vibe of this movie, is part of the theme a little bit, right? Is to like go across America. A lot of it filmed in Tennessee, in Nevada, right? But like you get the sense of like, you see those locations. I think Joe mentioned that, right? Like they use their budget to get those scenes because it does look like you're going across America. And I think the look is amazing. Special effects don't age the best, but because they are not the focus of the movie, it makes it age a little bit better than other movies of its time, in my opinion, that were more focused on the special effects. Right. And that's why it blew ILM's mind when Carpenter was like, we're not going to really focus on this. Right. One of the most impressive visual effects, everything that you see exterior of the train is a fucking model on a model set. Are you kidding me? Like that. I was like, never would I've ever guessed that. Right. Just watching the movie. If I didn't know that, if I wasn't told that, I would be like, oh no, they just set up next to a train track and just fucking got it. You know what I'm saying? But man, that shit looks amazing. Some of the effects look doofy, right? Like when he's hanging upside down, obviously. It's what I have as my avatar here, right? When he's hanging upside down, doing his thing, it's like we know the trick. Once you know the trick, then it kind of pulls away from it just a little bit sometimes. But as far as the lighting, the color, the framing, everything about that rocks in this fucking movie. It's John Carpenter, right? He does not change how he makes a movie because he's doing something other than horror, right? And that could have been an easy trick. Well, let me go into the conventions of a romantic comedy or a road movie or something like that. Nope. They didn't do that, right? I love that movie or this movie for that. Structure. Maybe runs a little bit long, Joe, but I'll disagree a little bit slightly. I think, like, honestly, when I was watching it on Thursday and we got to the point where after Karen's character, Janet, gets shot, right? And then all of a sudden I was like, fuck, we're getting into the third act. Shit, already? Fuck. Like, this movie seems to be fast for me. Like, it had a really... every time I've watched this movie, I've watched it twice in my adult life, it feels tight. I never feel bored. I'm always enamored with it. I'm always interested in what's going on. That was
not my experience at all, but I'll get to that.
Okay. Well, fair enough. But for me, I think it's tightly structured, to be honest with you. I get what you're saying. There are moments when the government comes. That's the part of the story that's weak, right? Is the government agents and this and that, and the guy from SETI, from American Graffiti, who is trying to be like the good guy and everybody else is just after this guy for no fucking obvious reason. They don't get into the nuance of that, but man, honestly, if they did, would that pull away from what the important part of the story is, which is that love story, that connection between Janet and Starman, aka Scott, or faux Scott, if you want to call it that. I think the structure is brilliant. I love the story. I love the style. Some of the special effects may not be super dated, and there's some slight elements underdeveloped, but I'm very forgiving of it for this film. What about you, Fable? What do you think about the style and structure?
Yeah, I just would echo everything you just said. I love the style. Yes, the special effects are dated, but I don't know, the way they're shot, the color use in them, the like I love when they show the star traveling across the lake or whatever it is to the house. Even when he's doing that upside down bit, I love how she's looking through the window and they show, like, I don't know, the lakeside and him. Just a lot of framing shots that I just absolutely in love with. Even when they pull up to that diner, that parking lot, it's beautifully shot. When he's getting beat up, there's a shot where like they punch him in the stomach and the camera just pulls out from him and he hits the car or something like that, and then he passes out like right in the middle of the fight. So no, and I like the ship, the little Superman ship that he came in. I like the way it looked on the inside. It was just like, what the hell is this? It looks really alien. And even though it is a little dated, I still like the concept of those silver balls and how they just like, there's something to them. There's something magical to them. It's a technology that we have no idea. And yes, it could be a MacGuffin, like you said. I totally get that. But it was magical for me as a kid. So I love the style. The structure, I can go with both of you guys. There's times where I feel like I'm into it and I'm watching it and it's fine. And then there's times where like, this is a little long. Yes, they're telling me things I don't really need to know, but I understand it because that guy the SETI guy has to be there because he has to save them. There's no way they're going to escape the government. And they have to have some kind of, interaction with somebody from that side. So it's basically setting him up. He's like the third character in this movie. Besides Jeff Bridges and what is he called? Jenny Hayden. Jenny Hayden. Mm-hmm. I love when he goes, I look like Scott, so you don't be a little bit jumpy. I love what he did. That's the part that touched me. Yeah, I could understand both of you guys.
Mhm.
There's times where I feel like it's a breeze, and there's times where I feel like it's too long. It just, you got to catch me in the right mood, right? So
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm in the middle with that, but style, I love it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
What about you, Brooks? What do you think about the style and structure?
Well, it definitely has the John Carpenter fingerprints on it. Like, I could totally buy this. He had a lot of influence on his movie. And it's a very simple premise, really. It's like, somebody gets stranded and just needs to get home. And like a thing I thought was interesting about this movie is that you could see it in like multiple ways too. Like, maybe is he an alien? But you can also see it like maybe he's an angel. He comes down. He's got like these miracle stones. Like, it's kind of like it kind of blurs the line between extraterrestrial. What does that really mean? Like, and like so you can. It's just funny that you can kind of apply it in different ways.
You're getting some
But yeah,
ancient
like
alien shit right here, man. Is what you're doing,
yeah,
man. That's what you're trying to do.
yeah.
Is this some Jack Kirby Eternals bullshit going on right now? Let's go, man. I'm down, man.
Yeah, Jeff Bridges has to fight the deviants to save the Earth. But yeah, like basically, it is a very
Joe would have
straightforward
liked
movie.
it better if it was deviants other than the government, probably. But
Yeah, like
Probably.
it's kind of like the he's being chased by the head deviant the whole movie. That's where all the attention comes. But like the head deviant like never actually reaches them, and he's just in a couple of scenes.
as long as the deviants just don't look like generic fucking MCU fucking CGI monsters, it would be okay, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Alas, it's too late to go back and change this movie into
The
perfect
Eternals movie
franchise.
sucks, is what we're trying to say. All right, it's too late to change that. It's too late to change Starman, but
Yeah, too late. But yeah, I think it moves along like it's a very straightforward movie.
Mhm.
It's it starts like he's crashed, and then all it is just he needs to get to the place where he gets picked up, and the movie is basically just that journey. Like whether he's traveling with a Karen Allen character or or on his own for a little while, and I do feel like I know why the government stuff was in there. They need to have a little bit of tension. To feel like he needs to get there quicker, to add a little bit of sense of urgency. But I really do think that it was kind of unnecessary. Like at least I think they should have kept the guy who lets him go at the end. But like just kind of like just have him show up like he's just like he's a government guy. We didn't need to like have been introduced to him like we know what the U.S. government is and like so yeah, but other than that, like it is a very good movie, I think. Well paced, good structure, good John Carpenter style. How can you go wrong?
all right. CJ, you're close to getting banned from the channel right now, saying Ghost of Mars was a better alien movie than this one. Like, I don't know about that, bro. Like, that might be a bridge too far. But the one individual here that is always willing to go a bridge too far is Joe Corallo, my good homie.
It's true.
Why don't you tell us what you think about the
Yeah.
style and structure?
Sure. The style again, like off the charts. It's John Carpenter. You see a lot of these movies for the style, and that whole sort of extended opening through Jeff Bridges showing up, and that whole thing like really sets everything up. It's really out there. Really gets you kind of ready for the movie. And then yeah, all of the shot, like so many gorgeous shots of the scenery that really suck you into this and keep you in. Like styles, like really no notes. I mean, it looks great. The problems, which aren't major, are in the structure. Like when I watched it, I watched it last night, getting ready for this, and I was with my friend Chase, and we ordered like pizza. We were gonna go pick it up, and it was ready. We had to go. Paused it, and it was at like it was around like the 45-ish minute mark, and it was just like, fuck, that's not the halfway point. Like, oh, like, you know, like it was like one of those sort of moments where you're like, I really thought this was moving a little faster than this. And the movie could have used one less like thing happening along the way. Because like after a while, it doesn't really add too much more to it. You know, so you end up with that like Walking Dead problem of like every story arc was we're in a new town and there's new people here. It turns out that people are worse than the Walking Dead. And you know, there was a bit of that, you know, I mean the cops, the deer hunter, and these sort of things. The you know, they did a very good job with the escalation. Like they, you know, starting earlier on where they go to the gas station and he like almost has a confrontation, like physical altercation with the guy in the bathroom, and then like and that escalate. They do a very good job with that. It's just something I feel needed to be trimmed a little bit because like this could easily be like a tight hour 45. Like I think you could find 9 minutes of this movie to shave off without too much of a problem.
Joe, have you ever met John Carpenter? Like, have you ever been in an event with him or anything like that?
I've like been like walked past him at shows. I haven't really talked to him though, but like
if
I've
you ever
been,
have
like,
if you ever have a
introduced from
conversation with John Carpenter, is within like you got 5 minutes, are you going to bring up, you know, you could have made Starman a little bit tighter? Is that like, I'm just wondering if that's like
no. Honestly, I would probably want to talk to him a lot about In the Mouth of Madness because that I genuinely feel
that's the
is
underrated fucking John Carpenter film right there, man.
I love that fucking movie, and you know, so I'd probably be on that.
Too bad we've already done that here on PCP Movie Night a few years ago for March Madness, but Dylan's doing it this year. So maybe me and you should crash Dylan's horror show for In the Mouth of Madness and show those motherfuckers what is up.
Yeah, he could, you know, I would, you know, occasionally like other shows, you know, clearly I watch a lot of fucking movies.
Well, PCP Movie Night's the best show, but you know, fuck, you know,
well,
whatever,
that's why exactly. You know, so.
All right, man. I agree with what everybody said, even though I got my own thoughts. That's a beautiful thing about film is that we have that get out of paradox free card.
Yes.
So let's talk about the music. The music is done by Jack Nietzsche, who is not John Carpenter, right? But this dude is a pretty solid. So he worked on The Exorcist with Mike Oldfield, right? He did the score, the Academy Award nominated score for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He did Cruisin', which is also William Friedkin, so that makes sense. An Officer and a Gentleman. Starman, of course. After Starman, he did Jewel of Denial, 9.5 Weeks, Mermaids, and a few other things, right? I love the fucking music in this movie. That theme, the dun, 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 dun. Oh my goodness. But are there not moments in this movie where you hear a and you wait a second. Did John Carpenter not do the score for this movie? Because it sounds like a John Carpenter score, except for some of the like. So it sounds like a John Carpenter score, and I don't know if like Carpenter had like given Jack like ideas and say like, no, I prefer it like this or do that or whatever. But that main theme, that swelling, hopeful. I'm a big fan of the minor key, and so I don't like a lot of major shit. It sounds too fucking happy and sappy, right? But man, that dun 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 dun, and how it keeps coming back, even in the darker moments of the film, it feels so triumphant to me, man. And I fucking love the score of this movie. I'm a sucker for a John Carpenter movie. I'm a sucker for a synth score. I'm a sucker for this kind of shit, dude. I love the music in this film. And don't forget that Jeff Bridges and Karen Allen did a music video and recorded a single for this movie, which was the Dream, 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 Dream. They did that song for it. Go look it up. Not near as cool as the music video for Big Trouble in Little China, but I think the music in this film is fucking flawless. What about you, Fable?
Yeah, I gotta agree. I love a synth score, and I do feel like if John Carpenter didn't do this, he was like, "This is how I want it done." maybe he should have told Columbia, "Listen, I'll do the music too. You could shave $2 million off the budget."
Yeah, no shit. Like, bro, like if you didn't know, you would just assume this was a John Carpenter score. I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think the score is what lends that sense of innocence to the movie. It's sort of what it's a character with Starman because he's so innocent. It just goes with him as his experience of Earth. And I just love the way it kicks in at the end. The way it kicks in at the end when the aliens coming to pick him up. And it's just like you said, triumphant. It's like we made it.
Yeah.
And it's sad, like too. It's like we gotta say goodbye to this guy.
Like Dario Argento showed up from the spaceship and lit the goddamn scene for a second.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, oh shit, there's the creep show lighting came in. It's awesome. But yeah, no, I this is one of the themes. I mean, I couldn't tell you any of the other music too much, but this theme in particular is one that sticks out from all the themes in the 80s. This is one on that list for me.
Hell yeah. What about you, Brooks? What do you think about the music? And real quick, CJ, we did do Killer Clowns from Outer Space. We already did. So you should check out that rewind.
Yeah, I really like the soundtrack to this movie. It is very it has that kind of synth, that synth ambiance that has kind of become commonplace for like extraterrestrial or alien type or even like space type movies,
or sci-fi at that time. It's very Vangelis, Blade Runner feeling at times, right?
Yeah, I can see that too. Like I think the 70s and the 80s, like when a lot more musicians were starting to experiment with the synthesizer and the noises it can make. It led to like a lot of the kind of sounds that we associate with like certain movies and stuff as well, and like in science fiction in particular. So yeah, it's great. Like I could see like listening to this soundtrack, absent the movie, So not bad.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's actually worth listening to. It's on Spotify. You can find it on YouTube. It's like definitely worth listening to on its own. And it that's the big thing about a score for me. Like if it works for the movie, that's like the best thing that it can do, right? But if you can also listen to it on its own and it takes you back to the vibe and feelings and the emotions of that movie, even better. And I think Jagnichi really does it here. What about you, Joe? What do you think about the music?
I love it. I think the score is one of the best parts of the movie. I think that the style and the score in particular. I think the use of the score, like unlike most other John Carpenter films, and that's by their nature, they're designed to be this way. Like the score, like tugs on your heartstrings at a few points. Like it really enhances some of the moments, like the deer coming back to life. Particularly like the ending, like when they're seeing each other off, and then the music through the end credits. Like, it's powerful stuff in a way that you don't get from a John Carpenter movie. And again, that's by design. It would be weird if you got emotional watching In the Mouth of Madness, but
that's a great score, though, man.
It is. I love the score. I love everything about that fucking movie, but this, like the score really enhances those emotional moments and those emotional beats, which really makes you get why he was like, this isn't really my thing, so I'd really feel better having someone else do the score. And it's good that works, because it would be awful if he felt that, got someone else to do the score, and it wasn't good. So, really worked out and shows his level of, professionalism, dedication to the craft, to be like, I understand I can't do this score and need someone else to do.
Hell yeah. All right. I mean, I love everything that everybody said about that fucking score. All right, now what is the movie about? What's the theme? What's it speaking to you? right? We watch these movies. They can just be entertaining, or we can dive a little bit deeper. That's what we do here at PCP, especially in the year PCPX. If you're not down with that, I got 2 words for you. Suck my balls. Anyway, Fable, what do you think about the theme? What is the movie speaking to you? What's it about?
I think Jeff Bridges summed it up. You said it earlier when he said, you know, there's something special about you guys. The best, the worst brings the best out of you, kind of thing. And I think there's examples of that through the entire film. You guys named a lot of it, even the stupid part where the truck happens to be there and they hop in the truck. It's still people helping people, right? Remember the guys in the damn hotel where he was like, "Hey man, the cops are messing with your car, man. Let's knock over this candy machine." Or the freaking guy in the damn hot rod that chases leads the army away. I mean, these guys can get in real fucking trouble for the shit they're doing to help Starman, and they don't know him from a hole in the wall, but they seem compelled to help him. The lady at the diner, and she's like, "Hey lady, you want me to hold that bus for you?" When she's trying to escape and stuff like that. And there's that one asshole, but we need that one asshole because it ain't all good. So I like that because Starman is so innocent, he's so childlike that when he comes here, you're already like, oh, you're going to get screwed. Like, you know what I mean? They're gonna get you, they're gonna test on you and everything. And by the end of the movie, Starman's like, he almost doesn't want to leave. If it wasn't that he was gonna die, he probably wouldn't have left. And he got all of that through all these interactions. So yeah, I think it's just trying to say like, yeah, it could be shitty sometimes, but through this adversity, we learn to be better people. So that's what it spoke to me.
Yeah, I love that. And a lot of these kind of films, especially of the time and even before, things like Day the Earth Stood Still or something, right? There's this like very negative view of humanity. Oh, it's all shit. They're a problematic species, this and that. And it's like a little bit too on the nose about what's wrong with the world, right? But this movie strikes that balance between what's wrong and what's right, and I think it does such a delicate job with that. Speaking of delicate, this dude only washes in delicate. I have no idea what that fucking segue was supposed to mean. Brooks, what do you think about the theme of the movie? What's it speaking to you?
Well, like there's a theme in a lot of science fiction movies, particularly when it comes to like aliens. Is like humanity's fear of the other, of things you don't understand, But I think this movie kind of takes it a different way. It kind of puts a more positive spin, like that we're better than we think we are, like that humanity, like will, like we may think about doing the wrong thing, but in the end, we will probably do the right thing. I think that was the government guys. That was basically his whole arc. Is like he doesn't want, like, he wants to talk to this. He wants to learn from the Starman. Obviously, the aliens, like there's so much he could tell us about and like I kind of wish that he had a little more chance to like explain more about what his species or whatever was like, because we get a little bit of it, but I guess they don't want to like get too much into that. But it's like the idea is like we don't want to like actually destroy everything. We do want to learn. We do want to be kind. We do want to help people. Even if we don't understand them, or if they're different, or even if they fall from the sky in like a burning spaceship. So yeah, like I think it's like the happy ending is kind of what's like really still to me, that he's kind of pushed his idea that like humanity is good, and we're kind of down on ourselves a lot, but we should appreciate the better qualities that we have, because like that's how the Starman experiences it. Like he experiences humanity like just from like 100 miles an hour, and he's like just absorbing everything, and like how people behave, the good, the bad, he gets beat up, he falls in love, like he goes through everything, and like at the end, like he's torn because he wants to go home, he wants to live, but at the same time he has to leave behind like all these experiences, and like, all the everything he's seen along the way. So it's kind of it's funny, but it's sad at the same time. And that's like a lot of the humor in this movie is like sad but funny at the same time, because Karen Allen's character, like, in the beginning it shows her like she's very sad because she's feeling the loss of her husband. She's still in mourning, and then all of a sudden this like thing just comes in and like becomes like kind of reopens those wounds. And so like it's funny watching her like have to react to this, but at the same time it's sad because she's also feeling that pain all over again. It's like it's equal parts comedy and tragedy with it in a way.
Yeah, and I love what y'all are saying so far. It's about the inherent potential goodness of humanity, right? Obviously, this movie was not made in 2025. It was made in 1984. What about you, though, Joe? What are you picking up from this movie? What are you sitting on?
So much of this movie is about, like, I think he basically said, like, you can love again if you let yourself. You can believe in something positive and beautiful in this world if you let yourself. And the whole journey of this movie is Karen Allen having to come to terms with that. Like, she was isolated and alone. Like, before he showed up, you're under the impression that this is someone who was like, I'm done with the outside world. I'm secluded here. I have my memories that I'm still like clinging on to. And that's it. And the idea of opening herself up to anyone is initially treated with violence, because she pulls the gun. So you get this sort of like arc of this idea of how she has to like struggle with this notion of allowing herself to love again. And it's this, and this is where the movie's pace is structured in a way of, you see that it takes its time to slowly show the evolution in a way that really sells the movie overall. And Karen Allen's performance is, you are watching someone struggle with the idea that if I do this, if I let myself believe, if I let myself love again, something bad's going to happen, or like this isn't for me, I don't want this. And then she finally, towards the end, accepts that you can love again, and part of accepting that you can love again is being able to have that loss again, and understanding that I'm going to lose him again, but I've learned now, I've had that arc, I understand I can love again. So even though I'm allowing myself to experience this pain and put myself through this, it is now easier, and I understand life more now, and like I lost the love of her life, but it's like, it's okay now. I'm losing him again in a way because I now understand that I'm the one in control, and I can lose this, but it's going to be okay because I can find someone again, or I can find that feeling again somewhere.
Fuck yeah, man.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad you said that, man. All right. It's like recently, a couple weeks ago, me and my girlfriend celebrated our 2-year anniversary. And so just cut back to like 2+ years ago in Rockin' Robbie land, right? I was in that Karen Allen state. My lover hadn't died, but after a 12+ year relationship, it ended. It was COVID. It was all this kind of shit, right? And I was like, you know what? It's done. I met somebody new. It didn't work out. And you know what? I honestly sat there and I was like, you know what? It's over. All I have now is me and my work. and I'm going to focus on that. And then there was this bright fucking spot that showed up in my life, like just over 2 years ago, and taught me the same thing that Karen gets taught by Starman in this movie. And it was a joy for me to get to share this movie with her on Thursday for her first time. And I really loved her response to the movie because I knew that she would get it. But like, that's very true, Joe. A lot of us are in these spots in life where we feel like everything's futile, everything's over. We've already hit the peak and now we're on the downcline. So like the downcline, the incline. So like, you know, what's the fucking point? Let's just coast now till the end. There's always an opportunity for change. There's always an opportunity for love. There's always an opportunity to find out something more about this world and this existence and these people that we're surrounded by. So to me, this movie is about the potential and the inherent beauty of humanity, life, and our world. There's problems. That's why the government's there. That's why the deer hunter's there. No relation to the movie Deer Hunter, as Joe said earlier. But like those things exist, you know. And Brooks kind of alluded to that. Like, yeah, there's shit people in this world, but for the most part, like here's this is 2025. There's a lot of shit going on, right? I don't want to date this podcast, date this show, or whatever, but like, there's a lot of shit going on. And it's easy to get wrapped up into how bad and heinous everything feels. But it's actually very difficult to look at the good. And I'm going to be honest with you. This may not be everybody's experience. I know it's not everybody's experience. But a lot of us, we've been through tragedy. We've been through hardships. But man, we can look around and we can see when you wake up in the morning and you see the sunrise over a mountain here in America, how fucking beautiful that looks, right? Especially when you're sharing it with someone that you care about. This movie to me is about love. What does love really mean? Well, it gets answered in this film. Starman asks Janet, what is love? Well, it's when you care for somebody more than yourself. What does that really mean? That means sacrifice. That means that you'll do anything for that person. Anything for these people over yourself. It's not, we need to get out of this selfish way of looking at the world. How is the world unjust to me? How is the world holding me back? How are the people in my world, my country, my life, my community, how are they holding me back? How are they like keeping me from, no. What is love? Love is caring about somebody else more than yourself. I think we've lost that a little bit. This world is a beautiful fucking place. Go out there. You know, walk through the mountains, walk through the plains, go see nature. Even if you're in the middle of the fucking city, like Joe and Fable are, right? Like a big oppressive city, fucking towers all around you and shit. Go when you can. Touch some fucking ground. See some green.
Even the city. Because when I go through, which I am going through, some of the toughest times in my life, I look at this city as the most dirtiest, heinous, most corrupt place in the universe. And then when things are up, it's like this is a marvel of human, like, you know what I mean? Ingenuity. Like, look at these buildings, these towers. This is an amazing place. So yeah, it definitely depends on your frame of mind. And yeah, I agree with you 100%, bro.
And I hear that shit too about like New York, about how like, yeah, everybody's kind of in their own world. Everybody's like, fuck you, right? Which, by the way, that's one of the things I think I love about New York, even though I've never been there. I'm going there in August. I'm very excited. But like I like, you always
you better
hear about
hang out when you're here.
Yes. Yeah. Do you not have a ticket to Oasis? But yes, Joe, that's part of the plan. Me and Mike have been talking about it. We're like, there's a few things we want to do fuck, now I'm getting sidetracked. It's we're going to a Yankees game. We're watching Oasis. If we have a chance, we're going to drive to Cooperstown, right? But to me, like Gray's Papaya is a big deal. I got to go to Gray's Papaya for some fucking reason. I've seen that on too many fucking Food Network shows and shit that I got to go to that show. And I'm just so jealous that you guys could go there almost any weekend you wanted to. Really?
Oh, I gotta take you to Shopson's.
What's
one of my favorite?
What's that?
It's one of my favorite restaurants in the city. It's there's a documentary about it called "I Like Killing Flies." And
all right.
It's a family-owned business. Kenny Shopson used to run it, and now his son Zach does. And it is just incredible. Like, what was it? Like the thing I got was the last time I went was it was like 3 poached eggs on like a grilled ciabatta bread hero with like infused with pepper jack cheese and like scallions and fresh chorizo and like out of this fucking world. Like, it's incredible food.
Okay. Well, we got to talk about this because I keep mentioning this on my streams, and I'm like, all right, well, I got to go to Gray's Papaya. Like, that's the thing, but I want to go get some good New York pizza. And I ask everybody I know from New York, I ask on my streams, and everybody goes, oh, just go to any place in New York. It'll be fine. I'm like, any place? No. I'm sure that Domino's exists there too. So fuck y'all.
Man, maybe
we got to talk. The 3 of us got to talk more. We all got to hang out, and have dinner together, man. That would be super fun.
Oh yeah, John's on Bleecker is really fucking good. That's some really good pizza.
Okay. All right. Now that I've been sidetracked, what was I saying? Oh yeah, my life sucked 2 years ago, but I found out there was another path towards love. And have faith in yourself. Have faith in humanity, right? And I don't know. It really meant a lot to me this week. Just slightly over 2 years of being with my girlfriend and watching this movie with her and having her like really respond very positively to it, because that is a theme to me in this movie. But aside from the personal stuff, in my everyday life, most people will do anything for you. And that's the other thing I hear about New Yorkers. Yeah, like everybody's like, fuck you, I'm walking here. But when shit goes down, the community coalesces around each other.
Yeah, we're like the kids that were like, hey, the cops are messing with your car. Want us to distract them for you?
Like, no shit. And that's what it is. Like, Abel, and I'm glad you mentioned that. It's about people sticking up for people, man. It's sacrifice, dude. Like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, I got this badass fucking car. I'll take the cops on this wild ass goose chase so that you can get away. I know nothing about you. You could literally be a heinous fucking person. You could be Henry, You could be Henry, the serial killer, and I'll fucking vibe for you, man. Like I've been in so many situations like that. Brooks has been in situations like that. I know, I've seen it where we've been like, fuck, what do we do? And somebody goes, oh, I got you. They don't know us. Right. And I'm sure in like a city, like life feels oppressive. It feels overwhelming. There's a lot of bad shit in this world. The government, the deer hunters, the rednecks, the fucking Trumpians, all that fucking bullshit, man. It feels like it's even the extreme leftists. It feels like it's too much from all sides. But honestly, if the 4 of us were in a room together and one of us needed something, the other 3 would do whatever we could to make that work. Right? That is humanity. That is, let us not lose fucking sight of that in the next 4 years. I know it's going to be rough for a lot of people, but don't lose sight of your neighbor, the people right next to you, the people you see. And, you know, me and Brooks live close to each other. We've lived very far away from Joe and Fable, but y'all are my family. And I know that if I needed anything, I could count on any of y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, because everybody here on this panel has actually been there for me at some point in my life when they didn't have to be. And that is the beauty of the potentiality of humanity in this existence. And do not forget how beautiful this world is. So let's stop fucking it up, right? Right? So anyway, that was a long-winded fucking whole thing. Love y'all.
Someone saw a
Stay
plastic
tuned.
bag blowing in the breeze today.
Yeah, no shit, man. I feel like I need to get out there. No lie, Brooks. How many times we've been out smoking cigarettes or smoking weed or something outside of a building and we go, look at that bag. It's like American Beauty. It is beautiful. It's like just seeing the wind move and shit. I get it. I love that fucking movie. We've never covered that here on PCP. It's problematic today, mostly because of Kevin Spacey, but you know what? This is still one of my favorite movies. I don't give a shit. Time to rate this motherfucker. You out there in the chat, Starman, directed by John Carpenter. Out of 5, you digs. What do you give it? Fable, kick us off tonight, my friend.
All right. So I mentioned earlier that this movie kind of ignited my love for science fiction. I like positive science fiction. You guys touched on it a lot. The humanity, teaching us that even with all these instruments of death at our fingertips, we still find a way to get out of it, right? Do the right thing, like Brooks said. I love movies like that have that positive. It's why I love E.T. It's why I love, Star Trek. Star Trek shaped my whole vision of the future, where humanity is just selfless, and we're out there. We're the Starmen in in Star Trek. You know what I'm saying?
We all got a set of 7 Dragon Balls.
We
Like
got
Joe
the
said,
Dragon Balls, you know.
we can wish anybody back from the dead. There's the Namek ones. They
Yeah.
can come back twice.
You know, anything
There
we
you
have from there will be looking like magic to anything that's primitive, right? So, like, I love that kind of message. I love that kind of theme. And it's because of the shit that happens in reality sometimes. And sometimes you can't even control it. Like, you can get the ladder kicked from under you without even trying. Like, you know what I'm saying? I need this kind of thing. And sometimes it's illogical. And sometimes it if you nitpick it or whatever, you can find the flaws and the dumbness. And even CJ said it earlier. He said you just got to suspend your belief just a little bit, to go on that ride, that magic, to get those feels. This movie is not perfect. It's not John Carpenter's greatest film, so I can't give it a 5. But I'm gonna give it a solid 4. I think it's a quaint, sometimes beautiful, innocent film that I think could really bring people out of a bad time. You know what I mean? We need more films like this. Sure, it could be tighter. I agree with Joe. I can't disagree with him. There's times where I'm like, yeah, the same thing. But yeah, I think this movie's a solid 4.
Yeah, and when you think about John Carpenter and his like ideas about politics and just life and shit like that, like in the middle of the Reagan era, for John Carpenter to make this film does show that he does still have a faith in humanity, and it comes through, like even in the hardest of times sometimes, right? Brooks, what about you, man? We got a 4 from Fable as well as from Eric out there in the chat. What about you?
Well, I really like this movie. I wouldn't say it's perfect either. I feel like it dragged a little bit in spaces. So I'd give it a 4, and I'd give it a 4.5. Like, and also, like, when you're talking about John Carpenter movies, like, you can't help but compare it. So, like,
Yeah.
I can see why, this one isn't quite as revered as other movies, but I really think it should be. Like, I think this is like John Carpenter really doing something different, and I think it really works. Like, like John Carpenter and like a lot of directors do get kind of pigeonholed a lot of the time as being like, because they're no more for horror movies or no more for fantasy movies or whatever. But movies are more complicated. We put everything in genres, but like stories. Like, a good storyteller can tell a good story outside of like, their comfort zone. And sometimes it works really well. And, I think this is an example of, a director who tries to take a turn that, maybe wasn't expected and, make something really great. And, I wish more artists were allowed to do that. I wish more directors were allowed to, flex their creative muscles and, work outside of their comfort zones and, take risks. And, it's sad that, we don't really get that as much anymore. But, we still have the classics like this movie that we can go back to. So we can dream
right.
of a better future.
All right. A 4.5 from Brooks. What about you, Joe? What are you thinking?
When I came in here, I had in my head like a 3.69 because I didn't think it was quite up to a 4. But over the course of the discussion, I talked myself into giving it a 4. So.
Fuck yeah, Joe. That's nice.
Yeah.
You found the faith in humanity in this movie somehow in the conversation tonight.
Well, he was talking about finding the will to love again and going through that. I'm like, you better give this a fucking 4.
Yeah, you better not be like
you
2.69 maybe.
This is
not
a lot
quite
deeper
a
than I
3,
thought it was.
For me, I'm right there with Brooks. I'm going to go 4.5. I think I may have given this a 5 the last time I reviewed it on my channel on Rockin' Robbie Live, but that was like being like blown away by this random John Carpenter movie that I didn't really know, right? I love what this movie is saying. I love the way it's shot. I think it's beautiful. I love the music. It's got some issues, but all those issues, a lot of the positives make up for them. So for me, it's a 4.5. I really love this movie. I would highly recommend anybody check it out. Not the best Carpenter film. Maybe not top 5. Definitely not top 5. But top 10 for certain, I would say. I would say Ghost of Mars is way worse than this movie, CJ, if you're still here. The fact that we even compared these two is fucking atrocious. But, whatever. You do you, I'll do me. Fuck you, CJ. You know what? If you don't like our ratings, I got 2 words for you. Suck it, dude. Fucking show up to a PCP movie night and fucking battle with us, man. But anyway, nah. The first 2 months of each year is just basically a big circle jerk around a bunch of movies, man. So thus concludes our movie review for Starman. That's a 4.5 from me, from Brooks, and a 4 from Joe and Fable for a PCP average of 4.25. 69 dudes. Because there is a sex scene in the movie that if you're like 8 years old is probably pretty hot, but
Oh, I almost saw a boob.
And that's another thing too that I didn't mention is like you didn't have to get gratuitous. You didn't have to go crazy with gore and violence to tell the story. That's another mastery that some people lose when they make these movies. It's like, how can I shock the shit out of everybody? And sometimes you just don't have to do that.
CJ, shut your whore mouth right now, man. I don't know what you're fucking talking about, man. I need to rewatch it. And dude, you got Brooks, you got a fan in Stacy there in Acres.
Acres, yeah.
Yeah, she's having a lot of fun chilling with you tonight. So
Nice.
pretty fucking cool. CJ would give it a 3.25. You would be that asshole tonight on the stream, man. And
The Delaney.
yeah, I bet Jelani would be like 3.25. I had to pay for this movie.
I don't get this movie. It's not about anything.
All right. What's coming up next week? Well, next week we're continuing our look at our favorite directors, man. Like John Carpenter into who? How about Martin Scorsese? Where the fuck are they? There they are. Next week, Mean Streets here on PCP Movie Night. This is the first quote unquote gangster crime, not the first crime drama that Marty did, and not even maybe it's considered the first part of the gangster trilogy from him. Mean Streets, Goodfellas, and Casino, right?
Yeah.
I'm very, very pumped to be talking about Mean Streets. Harvey Keitel, Robert De Niro, Martin Scorsese. That's fucking awesome. What about you, Fable? What you got coming up?
Did I sign up for Mean Streets?
Dude, it's Scorsese. You better have signed up. Let me look.
I think I did a late sign up.
You did, because I was like, hey, bruh, you know this is
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese, right?
Yeah.
Next week,
Yeah, I figured.
next week
All right.
it will be me, allegedly Jelani, Brooks, Fable, Stu, and Verno.
Nice.
Should be a good
Ooh.
show. Damn, Joe, I think this is the first Scorsese film you didn't sign up for.
Yeah, no, I try to just space them out a bit, so I'm not on like I try to not do like multiple weeks like in a row, but yeah.
Understandable. You don't want to Bogart it, right? You know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not my show, so.
Fable. Next week you'll be here for Mean Streets for certain.
Oh yeah.
What else you got coming up, man?
This Friday, man, I'm finally returning with my show, the all new, all different Blame Fable show. But this time, we're doing our Comics Curing Cancer special, man. So basically, it's the same show, but throughout the whole night, we'll be spinning a wheel. And if you donate $25 to the American Cancer Society, that earns you a spot on this wheel where we've been spinning it about, I'm hoping 15 times that night. So it's going to be kind of a long show, but we've got some great prizes that you could win just by donating $25 to the American Cancer Society. So it's going to be a fun night. The prizes that Nick put together are freaking amazing. All the PCP Army guys are going to be there. It's going to be a fantastic show. So much stuff happened in the past month since we've been gone. CGC, what's that guy that got in trouble? We'll talk about it.
How about Diamond declaring
Yeah, see,
bankruptcy?
Diamond. That's what I meant. I didn't even mean CGC. What am I talking about? Diamond.
I was honestly like, what happened with CGC? I
What
forget.
happened?
I didn't.
They raised their prices. But that's not. I don't care about CGC. We were talking about Diamond, yes, and just a lot of other stuff that happened. Plus, you may get a chance to win something cool. Awesome prizes on hand for that night. So come join us this Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the One Collection Down channel. Blame Fable is the Blame Fable show, Comics Curing Cancer special.
Hell yeah. I'm looking forward to that. I will be there as well. Brooks, thank you so much for being here. Final thoughts? What you got coming up?
Me and Jelani, we do Go Figure reviews. Even though we couldn't be here, we did Superman, the new McFarlane. Got Evil Superman. What's a steel chair? But yeah,
I heard Tony the Hitman Horton was there for that.
Oh yeah, Tony was on there with us too. It was a fun.
I don't think Tony's been on a video with us since we made him watch Lucio Fulci's Zombie.
He did not like that.
he
You
did
guys
not.
are nasty.
He was just like, y'all are nasty, man.
I remember that. You guys like this? You're nasty.
Yeah, but I guess for final thoughts, I can just say this: there's a Starman waiting in the sky. He thinks he'd like to meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds.
There you go. There you go.
I think you just made CJ happy. A 3.75 from CJ already on Mean Streets. You know, that might be a fair rating. I don't know. I haven't seen it in a few years. Joe, thank you so much for being here. I know you got a lot of projects coming up, some in the works, some out right now. Final thoughts. What you got coming up?
Yeah. Sure. Well, you can pick up the book I'm currently editing at Dynamite, Green Hornet Miss Fury. The first issue's out. Second issue, I believe final order cutoff already happened. So, go check it out. It's going to be 5 issues. It's really great. Alex Segura, Henry Barajas, and Federico Ceresa with Leslie Atlansky on colors and Taylor Esposito lettering. It looks great. Like Federico Ceresa, really, he's going to be you're going to see his name around. I assure you.
Yeah,
he's going to
very
get more
Greg
work.
Smallwood-esque, I think. Like the art was great in that book, dude. Really good.
Yeah, so check that out. I co-wrote the Maverick imprints Free Comic Book Day book with Jordi Belair for it's Princess Guinevere and the Jewel Riders King Arthur and the Knights of Justice crossover. So you can check out something I wrote for free May 3rd, I think. And then King Arthur and the Knights of Justice Volume 2 you can start pre-ordering now. It's going to be out June 17th.
Nice. Oh yeah.
Hell yeah. Everybody go check out those books. Joe does great work. Whether it's on PCP or at Dynamite, at DC, at Mad Cave, at Maverick. It doesn't even matter where the fuck you are, dude. You're doing good work, man. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Acres. Yeah, we'll do See No Evil, Hear No Evil. Just send me the Blu-ray. I guarantee you it'll be on next year in January of 2026. So reach out. I'm on IG. I'm on Facebook, all that shit. If you want to sponsor a PCP movie night, just let me know. I'll guide you along on that path. For me, super excited for this. I have a quadruple feature on Friday. I've never done this. But because Mr. fucking Fancy Pants Ed Brisson goddamn got sick on Friday, I have a quadruple feature. 4 shows back to back here on PCP Land. It all starts 3 p.m. Central Time on Friday with a conversation with Ed Brisson talking about Thundercats Lost, Silverhawks, and other things. Right after that, at 5 p.m. Central Time, another conversation with Joe Casey, one of my new best friends. So thank you, Joe Corallo, for ever hooking that up. But
absolutely,
Joe Casey is back. That's going to be cool. Right after that show, at 6 p.m. Central Time, the best comics of the month, with me, Nick, Greg, Eric, and Stu, shilling out for Marvel. That's what we're doing. And right after that, join me on the all-new, all-different Blame Fable show for the Comics Curing Cancer C3 Special Edition. But next week, Mean Streets. Where can you stream Mean Streets? Let me look it up real quick. I should always have this planned out. Everybody always asks.
So unprofessional.
Well, you could own the fucking Blu-ray like I do. But if you don't, you can rent it at Fandango, YouTube, Google Play, and Amazon Prime. I guess it's not really streaming anywhere. And I love how people are like, well, it's not streaming for free somewhere. Motherfucker, you're paying $25 a month for that service. It ain't free, okay? But it's out there. Mean Streets is worth checking out. Trust me. Join us here next week for another Martin Scorsese movie night. Yeah, Fable, you're definitely here. We can't do a Martin Scorsese film without at least one New Yorker present. Yeah. So that's just kind of how we do it. All right. We're dipping out. Station, we love you. And remember, movies are more than just entertainment. There's something to learn from. And if you ever want to reach deeper, just do one thing. Suck it!